Americans needing those answers about what is flying over their homes. The videos of this activity is growing. Here's what one person saw and how they described it.
And this is over my house right now. What is that? And sure enough, you can see one blinking in the distance, going left to right.
What is that? To help get a better understanding of what Americans are seeing in the sky, with us is the founder and CEO of ZeroMark, Joel Anderson. Joel, good morning.
Morning. Thanks for having me.
Of course. So you are someone with advanced knowledge on drones. When you look at the coverage across the country, what do you believe is happening? And why would people want to fly their drones at night, just scaring really everyone beneath on the ground?
Sure. Yeah, I think there's a lot of speculation that these could be from foreign nation states, just as much as there is this could be our own country that's conducting drills on a need-to-know basis and not disclosing that. But I think the reality that we need to acknowledge and remember is that drones have become so widely accessible and cheap that it could be anyone. And even if it was, a friendly occurrence of our own country, it really highlights that there is a large capability gap in our own state, local law enforcement and federal agencies' ability to detect drones, track them, identify them effectively, and ultimately engage them.
The FBI is saying, hey, this is no big deal. But when you hear their reports of groupings flying in unsanctioned areas over reservoirs, over military bases, what's your reaction?
I think it is a big deal. There might not be direct harm or acts of domestic terrorism that we're observing today, and the potential for espionage and other types of nefarious activities is pretty obvious. But people should realize that to weaponize these drones, if they were, which is a very trivial thing to do, we'd be completely defenseless. Electromagnetic solutions like jammers and spoofers and microwaves are virtually ineffective against a drone that's designed to be tolerant of those, which is a very cheap thing to do. And at the end of the day, there's two things that are inhibiting our law enforcement's ability to actually stop or mitigate a drone that was nefarious in that intent, with the intention to attack something. And that is both on a legal side, they are prohibited from doing things except under very limited circumstances. And then they also lack the technology due to the procurement strategies over the past several years.
There are so many reports that these drones are big, some of them the size of small cars. That's so much different than what we think when we think of drones in the sky. I am curious, how big can they get? Are there any regulations for who and how many can be purchased?
I think the regulations focus on the altitudes at which they fly and kind of the purpose of these drones, but there are different types of drones. You've got the typical quadcopters where you see these in like Best Buy stores and retail outlets. Then you have fixed wings like the ones that were just on screen that can carry a much heavier payload, travel much further, and are a little more complicated to fly. But the reality is, as I mentioned before, the cost to produce these particular pieces of technology is so low that it could be done. It's quite simple. A 3D printer and a couple of YouTube videos could produce a very large drone, and you see that every day with the ingenuity and craftiness of what Ukrainians are building and coming up with. They have drones that are multiple feet across that launch drones off of them.
So I'm curious, when you look at some of these larger drones, some with a 5-foot diameter, how advanced are their capabilities?
I think the size of the drone is not the piece that is determining the advancedness of their technology. It's really the capabilities of it. I think we talk a lot about disrupting the remote operator or tracking them down, but it's quite possible, especially on larger drones, that they're autonomous. There is not a person that's remotely flying them. They have computers that are relatively inexpensive embedded in them and are making decisions for themselves in the same way that you see in a GM Super Cruise or a Tesla autopilot vehicle.
At this point, it doesn't seem that we're going to stop seeing these sightings. Should the average person that sees these drones, should they be concerned when they see them in the sky?
I think, again, I don't want to speculate on what the intention of these particular drones are, but they should be concerned in our ability to do something about it. And what they should do in response to that is, one, record, of course, and submit that, but then write their local Congress, their representatives, to say, change the laws that will enable our right authorities to have the technology to do something and actually be legally allowed to do something about these.
All right, Joel Anderson, thank you so much. We appreciate your time.
Thanks for having me.
Such a fascinating conversation. And for more on the outbreak of mysterious drones, tune in tonight for a NewsNation special report, Drones Over New Jersey, with Ross Coulthart. It starts at 9 Eastern, 8 p.m. Central Time. Thanks for watching. Go to joinnn.com to find NewsNation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.